Hello, everyone, and welcome to Choosing the Best Workflow for Your Next AEC project. My name is Juliana, and I work in marketing here at MicroCAD. And today's presenter is Phil Marshall, our applications specialist. At today's webinar, we will go over ways to implement Autodesk cloud collaboration tools for a particular project. And we will also show you the options available and how to choose among them. Throughout the webinar, you can ask a question at any given point on the left-hand corner. You can ask Phil to revisit a step or ask any questions. This is your time, and we want you to make the most of it. And in the upper left-hand corners, we have links to our social media, website, and YouTube channel. Also, make sure to check our YouTube channel. We post all of our webinars there at the end, so you can share with colleagues or rewatch it on your own time. And without further ado, we'll pass it on to Phil. Hi, Phil.
Good afternoon. Let me share my screen. All right, so good afternoon and welcome to MicroCAD's webinar on AEC design workflow. What I would like in this 20 minutes or so is to give you some exposure to what your options are in implementing workflows. Autodesk collaboration products allow you to share information, including Revit models, with your partners on the project, so you know that everyone is working on the most recent version, everyone is aware of changes, and everyone has the opportunity to comment on designs leading to a better product. Now that Autodesk provides access to cloud services to everyone who has the AEC collection, our customers are wondering how to start using these tools. Autodesk has a vision of how their tools could be used to achieve a digital transformation of the project process. Their vision includes a single source of data, access anytime from anywhere to everybody in the project. And what I want to do is use this short 2-minute video to give you an idea of what Autodesk's vision is. Then we'll talk about how it can be implemented in the real world.
Digital transformation is happening at an unprecedented pace, accelerated by the urgent move to remote work. And yet in AEC, teams, processes, and data remain disconnected. So where do we start? We start with BIM, putting data at the center with cloud-based collaboration technologies. We then bring design and coordination teams together by connecting BIM data with construction workflows on a common data environment. We enable anytime, anywhere access to the design tools that you love to use, generating powerful insights to drive better decision-making. For the first time ever, Autodesk connects all of this together with BIM Collaborate Pro. This is where real-time co-authoring in Revit, Civil 3D, and AutoCAD Plant 3D meets automated clash detection, where issues can be quickly identified and resolved. With BIM Collaborate Pro, you can simplify design management for remote and distributed teams while complying with the latest industry standards. BIM Collaborate Pro empowers teams to keep projects on schedule with real-time design collaboration. Understand edits in context using intuitive change analysis. Assess constructability through automated clash analysis. Consolidate issues management to reduce rework and change orders. Control project document access with multi-level permissions and data exchange management. Realize better outcomes through advanced project analytics. With design teams on BIM Collaborate Pro and project reviewers on BIM Collaborate, you can speed up model review, improve communication, and deliver better designs. BIM Collaborate Pro is the next step in your digital transformation journey.
So the Autodesk vision has everyone involved in this process, but what we've seen is that the digital transformation journey will be different for each of our customers. Each of them want to use the Autodesk cloud services to meet their particular situation. Today, I'll go over 4 different workflows and talk about the pros and cons of each so you can judge for yourself which approach works best for you. The workflows I'll be talking about are all based on the Autodesk Cloud Services platform, either BIM 360 or Autodesk Construction Cloud. The 4 options we'll be discussing are shown here. I'll be talking about how it affects 3 different users: Oscar, the architect; Jeff, the MEP engineer; and Lee, the project manager. Note that these people could represent a group of people. That is, I'll talk about Oscar, but there could be 3 or 4 different architects doing that work. With Revit's work sharing, multiple authors can work on the same project at the same time. I'll also briefly manage a capability that can be added to any of the workflows, being able to have multiple organizations own their data, but synchronize it to the project as a whole. And one of the critical ways that these approaches differ is the location of the linked Revit files. Every discipline uses linked files to give a background and reference geometry for their work. You will see how using different locations for the link file results in different behavior. Let's look at the first option, file storage. In this technique, the users are exchanging files using the Autodesk Cloud, but not really taking advantage of any of the collaborative services. Jeff, the MEP designer, has a file shown in blue from Oscar that he uses as a background. He downloaded it from the cloud onto his workstation. Jeff's Revit model, shown in gray, is linked to Oscar's model so Jeff can design the mechanicals referencing the architectural elements. These files are all on Jeff's computer. When Jeff wants to share the model with Oscar, he uploads it into the Autodesk Cloud and tells Oscar. Oscar can then download it and review it. Note that Lee has no role in this workflow because she would not get notification of any of these file transfers. Okay, so what's good and bad about this approach? It is certainly a very simple approach. It's a simple workflow echoing what consultants and architects have been doing for decades. Internal procedures and processes can largely be unchanged. No training, no confusion. Everyone on the project will be using the Autodesk Cloud so that everyone will be using the same upload-download tools. And because the authors are working on files on their own on-premises server, they don't need licenses of BIM Collaborate Pro. But this really is a sideways move from the other cloud-based tools. There are no additional collaboration tools available to you, or audit trail, or any meaningful version control. And there's no automatic notification. So not only do the end users have to manually upload, download, they also have to call or email or text the other members of the team to let them know about the new file. Finally, there's no ability for a project manager to overview the project to see the status and who is working on what. Let's move up the ladder one step and look at the second option, direct update. Here, Jeff and Oscar both work on the Autodesk Cloud. Oscar's architectural Revit model is in the architecture folder, and Jeff's MEP model is in the MEP folder. And of course, you could have other folders for other disciplines, structural, civil, and so on. Each of the partners will be using their own folder. And because they're in their own folder, they can work independently. Jeff links to the architectural model in the architecture folder. That way he can locate mechanical components relative to the architectural objects. Now, when Oscar wants to let other partners know about their current updates to the architectural model, he publishes it. This makes it available to other people on the project who are using Autodesk Cloud. By publishing the file, Oscar updates the linked file and that Jeff is using, so Jeff will see those updates immediately. Since Jeff and Oscar are using the Autodesk Cloud, the other collaboration tools are available. This allows them to mark up each other's work, create and manage issues. Issues are things like questions or concerns or outright problems that need to be addressed. These issues are retained with the project, so there is an audit trail. The Autodesk Cloud also provides companies to define a secure review process so you could ensure quality control procedures are followed. And clash detection tools finds any interferences between model objects, making coordination a lot easier. And now Lee is part of the workflow. She is able to keep track of the progress each group is doing by reviewing the models, and she can add her own markups and issues to help collaboration. Obviously, this approach gives users more of the collaboration tools which help manage the project. This is a simple implementation with no need for ancillary communication. The designers who link to other disciplines' works get the updates immediately, perhaps before they're ready for them. And the updates occur at the control of the author, making it hard to piece together the history of the entire project since each discipline operates independently. So how about the controlled release workflow? With this workflow, Jeff and Oscar work as before. Their files are in the cloud in the discipline-specific folders, Oscar in the architectural folder, and Jeff in the MEP folder. What's different is in the location of the linked files. For Jeff, he would link to the folder Shared Architecture. So the architectural model in this folder would be the one he's using for his background and his geometry references. Oscar would link to a shared MEP folder and to look at the MEP work. When either Jeff or Oscar want to share their current models, they publish them to make them available to other people on the project, just as we discussed before. They can also take advantage of all of the collaboration tools, including clash detection. They would then share the models, which makes them available in the shared folder. Remember, this is where Jeff gets his architectural background. So his linked file gets updated when Oscar shares his model. What is different is that Jeff's linked file is updated when Oscar shares the model. In the previous example, it was when he publishes. This gives stakeholders an opportunity to review and comment on the published design before Oscar shares them. And Lee has the ability to look at the models and use any of the collaboration tools we've discussed previously. In addition, she can see the design collaboration panel, which shows the shared packages that have been created by the different disciplines. So we have one row for each discipline and a bubble for each of the shared packages. At a glance, she can tell who has released designed and when it was released. All right, this is getting closer to Autodesk's vision. Each discipline controls when to release their work to other teams. There's an opportunity to review the design before it updates for all partners. And all of the powerful collaboration tools are available and can be used by all. The project manager can review the work in process and get a quick overview of the project status. That swim lane graphic we showed before tells the project managers what packages have been released and when. To get all of these benefits, the end users must exercise some discipline and follow the correct procedure. Some training is recommended. Finally, let's look at the full control workflow. As before, Jeff and Oscar work in the cloud in their assigned folders. They link to each other's files using the consumed subfolder. So Jeff would link to MEP consumed and look for the architectural model within that. And Oscar would look under architecture consumed. So how does it get there? When either of them want to let others in the project see their work, they first they first publish it. This makes it visible to all of the teams, giving an opportunity to review. Then they would create a shared package, which places the model in the shared folder under the appropriate discipline subfolder. For our example, Jeff would look at the architectural model in the shared folder and review the impact it would have on his design. It does not automatically update anything in his model. When and if Jeff is satisfied that the architectural model won't have negative impact on his design, he consumes it, which copies it into the consumed folder where he has the link. At that point, the link is updated and Jeff's model could be updated from the link. So with this workflow, the authors not only control when they share their own model, they control when and if they use the models created by others, avoiding unexpected updates. This gives everyone the maximum amount of control of the workflow. Lee can review the models in the shared directory and see the progress. She can also see the shared packages displayed in the Design Collaboration Swim Lanes graphic. The graphic indicates when the shared packages are created, which are these round bubbles, and when they're consumed, when the round bubbles get filled in. So she can see the packages are created by whom and when, and who has used these packages, who is still reviewing them, and who has a question. This workflow lets each discipline control their data. They control when it's created and when it's shared. And because each update requires the agreement of both the change author and the person using the change data, each model's version is a significant and agreed upon change. The collaboration tools and clash detection provide strong techniques for communication with your partner still. Right, so this approach lets every discipline control their own data when they create it, when they share it, and when they use other people's data. It's because it's a discrete event, creating these versions, it makes each version meaningful and makes the audit trail meaningful to go back and see, let's look at the model as it existed 2 weeks ago. And you can pick up that directly from the consume folder. With this approach, you have all the powerful collaboration tools you had before, and the project managers have a lot of ability of seeing the status of the project, what shared packages are out there, which ones have been consumed, which are not yet consumed. But all this power comes with a cost. This is an advanced process requiring users to follow procedures, and training is a necessity. So we've shown 4 ways users can configure their use of the Autodesk Cloud services. All of these examples had the data stored on one hub in the cloud. Sometimes the partner may want to save their data on their own hubs. So in this case, the MEP contractor, Jeff, would want to have his model on his own hub in the cloud. And Oscar has all of the project on the architectural hub in the cloud. Over here. Autodesk provides functionality to synchronize files between one hub and another. That bridge capability is included in the build product from Autodesk. It automatically ensures that files on one company's hubs are synchronized with the files on the other hub. All right, so what we have seen with our users suggests several things. The biggest impact on the project is the knowledge that you are working in the most recent version of the data. No concerns about what file to use, where it is, who created it. The Autodesk Cloud Platform handles all of that. The collaboration tools, markups, issues, reviews, processes are great ways to communicate with your partners. And the value you get out of using them is it is a great ability to make sure that you have a auditable trail of all of that information so you can look back and see all of the communications. Some of you may be using other tools like Bluebeam for some of this already. You can continue using that tool with which you're comfortable and just link it to the Autodesk Cloud Platform. couple of points. If you're using the direct update workflow, you're really allowing others to drive your design. For example, Jeff, the mechanical engineer, may have routed the rigid ducts to terminals in the ceiling. If Oscar, the architect, changes the height of the ceiling, then Jeff's ducts will automatically and immediately move. That may not be what Jeff wants to have happen, because that could possibly give errors if there isn't enough space in the plenum for that motion. So if you're using a direct update, really be careful. Make sure that you understand what the impact of these changes are going to be, and that you can trust the partners not to do something foolish. Obviously, all partners must use the same workflow to enforce the process. So we recommend strongly that every project should have a BIM execution plan in place that explains the process. The BIM execution plan would say who's responsible for what, when you do the updates, how you do the updates, what the process is, and that would make sure that everyone on the project uses the same procedures. This doesn't replace training for the more complex workflows, but it makes sure that all the partners have consistent policies and procedures. For the first project, you may be best using the controlled release workflow. That gives the release power to the data owner, probably the architect, and it isn't too complex for the novice consultants. But for any of these, know that MicroCAD is available as an advisor to help you implement and execute these cloud-based platforms for your projects. So we can provide hand-holding, training, or consulting to help you put together these workflows. All right, let's move on to the questions.
Thank you, Phil, for that wonderful presentation. As a reminder for everybody, you have the question icon in the left-hand corner. The first question is, can you start with one workflow at conceptual phase and switch to another at DD phase?
That's an interesting idea. And yes, you certainly could do that, because at the conceptual phase, you would want the design flow to be more fluid, and you recognize there's a lot of changes. So you might want to simplify it in the conceptual stage, but then as you move to detailed design, you may want to maintain a lot more information. So yes, that's very possible, but obviously you want to make sure that everyone knows that that's the process you're going to be using. So that would need to be written up in fair detail in your BIM execution plan. But that's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Second question. What software do I need for this?
All right, so you obviously need an authoring tool. Whether you're using Revit or Plant 3D or Civil 3D, all of those are well integrated into the process. Or you could actually use AutoCAD if that's what you're using. So you need a tool for authoring. You need a tool for cloud access. So built into the AEC collection is a license for Autodesk Docs. That would give you the cloud access. And then if you're using the collaboration tools that we talked about, then you would also need a license of BIM Collaborate Pro. That gives the users the ability to work share into the cloud and participate in these workflows. So for summarizing, you need an authoring tool, you need a cloud access tool, and you need the collaboration tool.
Got it. Thank you, Phil. And the last question I see is, we use AutoCAD as well as Revit. Can that work?
Well, it certainly isn't optimal, but it certainly can work. There's a lot of cases where you're using AutoCAD for existing conditions, or if you're doing renovation or retrofitting of a building, that you may have AutoCAD files that represent the current state of the building. So I could understand how that would be desirable sometimes. Built into Revit, there's a lot of integration. So things like the publishing process I talked about is done from within the Revit application itself. If you're using AutoCAD, you would need to do that process manually outside of AutoCAD. But the other processes, the sharing and the consuming, those are doable with AutoCAD just the same as it would be with Revit. So there's really not a lot of new things that have to happen to integrate AutoCAD to the process, but you do want to make sure that the AutoCAD users are trained in how that process goes. So in that case, you'd really want to have a whole section in the BIM execution plan of how to work with the AutoCAD files.
Got it. Thank you, Phil. Okay, and if you want to learn these topics in detail, you can always take a custom training with Phil or someone else on our team. We also offer group classes online. Phil, I don't know if you have the webinar events slide, so we can show it, please. And we have coming up next Finish Line Pro, the markup, design, and engine your project needs. And then we have on December 15, Revit 21 and Bluebeam Cloud. So yeah, Phil, do you want to add something else?
Well, let me just say that we talked about implementing these workflows, and a lot of times you want to get some help with people who have actually done this before. So you can contact us, and we can provide, as I said before, training or hand-holding or consulting to help you implement the workflows on your next project. And we can provide that in a variety of different ways. So give us a call on any of our locations so that we can work with you and make you more successful.
Absolutely. And I think that concludes our webinar today. So thank you everyone for attending, and thank you, Phil, for that wonderful presentation.